Okay, welcome to the Campbell and Brannon closing overview, I guess is a good title for the class. We are lucky enough to have Steve Golden and Danica Bartolo with us, who are both with Campbell and Brannon. I don't know if you're in a spot where you can turn on your camera, Danica, but I'm sure everyone would love to see you unless you're driving. And I want to let you guys know that Campbell and Brannon, thank you so much. Wow, I was going to say I almost have everyone's video on. This is awesome. Okay, so Campbell and Brannon, as of how long ago? How long have you guys been alliance partners? Close to a year, right?
Since last September.
Last September.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 or 7 months you guys have been with us, and Campbell and Brannon are closing attorneys. They are, I'll let you go into some of your stats, but certainly one of the major players in Metro Atlanta. I have done several mini closings with you guys over the years, and have always been impressed with your organization, your professionalism, your speed, right? And just, I always say that our job is to kind of be the choreographer of every part and every vendor of the process. And I used to kind of pride myself on being like, hey, I'm an A player, so I want A players on my team. Because if I got a bunch of C players on my team, I can't get done what I need to get done.
Right.
And I certainly would say that you guys are A players. So Steve, Danica, you now have permission to share your screen for a little bit later, but if you guys could start off by just helping us understand a little bit about who you are, maybe what's special about Campbell and Brannon, the areas that you serve, and I'll chime in here and there and direct you if need be, but you guys are the stars of the show, certainly not me. So take it away.
All right. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Candace. Great to meet you today. As Bill said, my name's Steve Golden. I'm with Campbell and Brannon. I'm the partner, managing partner of the Alpharetta location right here off Haynesbridge. I've been doing closings for about 25 years. And for the first few years, I was a title examiner with a large firm, then did closings there for another 7, and then joined Mike Campbell. I was attracted to Mike Campbell and Campbell and Brannon, because of what we had lunch at IHOP. And I was asking him, what made his firm special? And he said, Steve, he said, we take really good care of our people, our team members. The team member takes great care of the client, you. And in turn, the client takes care of us. It's the virtuous circle, and it's sort of, the way we do things around here. Our secret, formula is really our back room. It'll either make you or break you in a real estate practice. We empower our folks to succeed. We don't crush them with volume. We make sure that we stay ahead of that, so that we hire ahead of where we think our volume is going to be. If things slow down a little bit, we carry our folks. We don't want to be one of those firms that sheds people based on volume to go hire, anybody you can, during the busy times. It's a cyclical business, and you have peaks and valleys, throughout each year. Spring being busy, leaves fall off the trees, you're less busy. Our firm is high tech, and we're high touch, and we emphasize security and service. I mean, that's the bottom line. We just to give you an example of how serious we take our security. We hired a company of hackers that were bad, and they moved over to the good side, so we could figure out whether or not we were vulnerable. And we failed twice. One test, 2 things. One was that it was pretty cool. They had a drone that went up to the 17th floor of one of our offices, where they were able, through Bluetooth, to connect in through a wireless mouse in our system, and they took us over. So we eliminated that problem with their help. The other is we had a guy in the firm that used password 1 as his password. So, we had to, talk to him about, creating a little more complicated password, a little less easy for the bad guys to hack. But So the high tech part of it is, we really we train our people. We use a paperless system. If somebody's out, they can link right into those files and know exactly where that paralegal left off. So you need, seamless transition there. A lot of people don't think about that, but we do. So we use the latest and greatest, technology, and in the service, it's high touch. We have a lot of folks who want them to be accessible. And at the end of the day, we want you guys to feel important. We want it to be, and this is where Danica comes in. We want the closing piece of it to be more of a ceremony. We want it to be fun. We want it to be, an experience, not just getting shuffled into a room where the attorney pushes a bunch of papers because he's got 9 or 10 more closings to do. It's not what we're about. In fact, my wife worked a little bit with us, and her vision, at least for our reception area, which kind of, went through the firm, was, she wanted our reception area to look more like a day spa. And Danica has taken it to the next level. So it's an experience. We want people to smile, be happy, take pictures afterwards. We got the Polaroid cutouts, and just today we had first-time home buyers that were hugging and high-fiving, and it's good. And we try to make it an experience. So that's the long short. I didn't mean to be too long-winded, but I get fairly excited about what we do over here.
I love how you started. You said, we rise and fall based on our back office. And many of the agents on this call today are solo agents. And I'm constantly reminding them that they are both the front office and the back office, right?
Right.
They are the sales wing of the organization, and they're the administrative wing of the organization.
That's
And
right.
the administrative wing of the organization keeps all the files straight. They make sure they know who to contact when, who to follow up with who when. They got to track their results. They got to track the lack of their results, right? And as I have said many times, your business is very similar to ours, right? We have to find the customers. We have to give the customers what they want. And we have to set a communication standard for how to help them in the future, right?
That's right. That's right. That's
Is that
exactly right. Yeah, our business models and our business, are parallel. And you just have to have, one of the things that, what I talked to our team about, and this is firm wide, is you have to have a culture, of where, and I call it just being kind, being helpful, being organized, being simple, and being solution oriented. If you just bring those things to the table every day, and I tell, folks, if you need a day off because you got something going on, that's okay. We're family first around here. But when you enter these, doors, or turn on your computer, your remote, it's game time, and we got to be kind. We got to be helpful. And when people are really giving us, blowback, a hard time about something, it's usually nothing that we did. We try to remember that, we're part of their story, and that they've got a lot going on in their lives, because, sometimes when people are selling a home, it's not for the best of circumstances. It could be a death. It could be a divorce. It could be, an elderly couple that's going into, assisted living. Could be first-time home buyers that are, ecstatic or scared. So, we try to, remember that. So, I think culture is a big part of what drives it. But, but the back office, as long as they know that, because you guys are going to be dealing with the back office 90% of the time. So they have that mindset. It's terrific, and our attorneys have it, and we're always happy to help. But when you're communicating 90% of the time with them, it's the world, And so I agree with Bill that, if you're solo, you got to treat your back room the same, as your front, office, if you will, and just take good care of those people. And if you will, and you're thorough, you follow up, integrity. If you say it, you do it. And if you always try to exceed, what you realistically, set as an expectation, and, it's really worked for us. And, I not only do that, in my business, but I do that in my personal life. If I tell one of my boys we're going hiking, we're going hiking, unless something really bad comes up, we do it, So anyway, that's just, Mr. Golden's 2 cents.
Well, I appreciate that, because it's interesting how our businesses are so similar, right? So your schedule is a little different because, you know, no one expects to close a home on a Saturday, right? But
Right.
when you make a commitment to somebody in your family or anybody for that matter, if somebody were to say, hey, I need you at 6 o'clock, you say, I have a commitment at 6 o'clock. I'll be available at this time, right?
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And then one thing I wanted to share with the group too, and I can go into the closing process because I think that's what you guys want to hear,
Yeah,
is that, when we do a team meeting, very similar to this, I see a gallery of folks and I just tell them, welcome to the marketing department. Everybody here from the beginning where we intake a contract to the end where we, file the deeds, electronically in most cases, whether there's a post-closing phone call, preparing the paperwork, intaking the information, every email, every phone call, every work product that we do here, it matters. It either moves us forward and we can grow our business, or it moves us backwards. And Lord knows it's not easy to do closings, like it's not easy to do what you guys do. Honestly, I don't see how you do it. I mean, you wear so many hats, and it's so challenging for us. A lot of times it's with the lenders, just getting the loan papers in so we can do our job. And that's hard. And it's not that they're trying to be difficult. They're dealing with volume on top of purchases. They got refis. They've got, people that are new hires to handle that. They got remote workers. So, it's been extraordinarily challenging on our part. And, I constantly thank my team and give them a pat on the back, and we let them vent and we do fun things, but everybody in our office we consider part of our marketing department. And, to that end, so let's say that, you get a contract.
yeah.
And
Let's start from you're servicing all the people you already know about, and you receive an email that says, hey, it's Bill Linkwald over at KW Roswell, 123 Hill Street's under contract. Here's the file.
right,
What
right.
happens then?
Okay. Okay. Well, the first thing is we do review the contract and we look at the special steps, we look at the legal description, and we look at the parties. Just want to tell you all a quick story, and then we'll move it forward. Just had, a deal where, we have a couple that is selling a home, and their parents are also on title, which we did not know about, until title came in, and they are living in Taiwan. It's a cash deal, quick closing, about $1,350,000 deal. And so, we said, well, let's do a power of attorney from parents, to son. Well, it seems easy, but there's not an embassy in Taiwan. Apparently, we don't have very good relations with them, but we do have, a consulate general, so to speak, a U.S. office to help with things like that. It's, it's thinly managed and staffed. So you're looking at, about a month and a half out, to get in front of a notary so we can get the power of attorney properly, witnessed. So, the first thing in the contract was that, we only had 2 people signed, but 4 people are on title. We needed 4 signatures of sellers. So I'm just telling you that because that's really important for us that you get that right, and we can help you with that. So write this down, guys. It's attorney or attorneys at CB, as in Campbell Brannon, .law. Attorney or attorneys at CB .law. That goes to all 32 of our attorneys. First available will get you the most current deed, which will show the legal description and who the owners of the property are, because you want to make sure you get that contract tight. You want your, of course, you want your brokerage agreement tight. So, maybe even before you go into the listing appointment, you get us to pull a copy of the deed for you. We're happy to do it. The records go back to 91. So if it's older than that, we can lean on our examiners, to pull that. Yeah, Danica, if you can, just type that in to the chat for everybody, our email that goes to all the attorneys, that would be awesome. So, so just make sure, and legal descriptions are really important. A street address isn't enough. Tax ID number may not be enough. Ask your folks, was there, property, maybe conveyed out or added to? We call it an assemblage Or we had a case where, part of our property, a small amount, was conveyed to a neighbor so that they could get permitting to build a pool, but our seller forgot about that. So we discovered it, and the buyer leveraged it to get about $20,000 of pool equipment, and pool furniture. He said, well, this is the legal description. You're breaching the contract. So anyway, I just wanted to spend just a couple of minutes on the contract, because that is the baseline for you and for us, and that's what we work off of. So we have to have the right parties, we have to have the right legal description. So you would get this contract, we're all excited, you send it to us, and you can send it, to me, you can send it, to any one of our offices, but at our particular office, it's alforders@cb.law. So you would just send it to us. Let's say the property's in Alpharetta, you want to send it to us. It goes to our intake person. Her name's Brandy. Brandy is an eagle eye expert, at inputting the data to get the file started. Okay. That is the beginning of the process. She assigns it to a pre-closer, who then orders. Yeah, go ahead.
Just so everyone hears that correctly, can somebody post the email address of where you want that first contact to be made? Do we email the file to Brandy right away? Is there anything we should put in the subject line, or how do we make it super easy for you guys?
I would say in the subject line, just put I would put the property address. And also, a lot of times, it's a great point. In the contract, we don't have the buyer or seller's email or phone numbers, just because, you don't want the parties communicating, you want the privacy thing going on. But if you could email us their contact information, that's hugely important, because that goes right to the pre-closer. In your case, the gal's name is Autumn Haddad. So Autumn will have, the contract transferred to her by Brandy, and then she's immediately going to turn out an electronic pre-close sheet to your seller and to your buyer. And the cool thing about the electronic pre-close sheet, is that it never leaves our server. It is protected. They have access in a secured method, because we ask for a lot of sensitive information. For example, a seller, we're going to need their social security number to order the payoff, to verify that, certain liens we might find in the title search are not against them. So, that's, really important to have. And in fact, I asked Autumn, before, this call, I said, what is the one thing, that you need, from the agents, to really move, their deals forward more efficiently. And she said, believe it or not, just, their seller or buyer's contact information, because we need to get those pre-close sheets out. And guys, if y'all can stress to your clients how important it is for them to complete that. We have some people that are fussing, about not getting their numbers, but we can't generate, settlement statements unless we have their information, which leads us to a payoff statement from a loan that needs to be paid off. It could be that there's an HOA. We need a clearance letter so we know if there's anything past due and what to prorate on. So, that is really helpful. So, Bill, I'm glad that you, press pause and ask that question, because I was going to go into that, more in line with what a pre-closer needs, but really at the time of intake, that is huge, to get the contact information, because typically it's not in the contract for privacy reasons. And, that'll, most importantly, if you can stress to your clients the need for them to complete it. Sellers fuss a little bit because they're comprehensive pre-close, questions. We need to know a lot. We need to know if they're a foreign national, if there's going to be withholding. We need to know if they're an investor, out of state. We need to know even whether or not their intention is to tear down the property and rebuild something, because the kind of title policy we issue may be different. So there's a lot of questions that are in there. And one thing, before we go further, one of my partners here, he's Richard Miller, he's going to come in and he's doing a class for you guys on the 18th from 11 to 2. It's on Thursday, and it's called Contracts to Close. And I actually helped create that class with a couple of other people. And the reason I did that is that we can go into a lot more depth in that CE class, as to, each section and, what the pre-close sheets have in them. I think it would be really helpful, and I strongly encourage you guys to take that class. It's a really good one. It's the best one that I've written in 20 years, and I think you'll find it very useful. Okay. So,
Danica, if you could post the details on that, that'd be awesome.
okay. Okay. So now you've got Autumn. So Autumn is your point guard. She is the gal who is going to be your single point of contact to gather all the information. So when the pre-close sheets, are completed, she's ordering payoffs. She's ordering the HOA clearance letter. She's ordering water, because water is the only utility that's lienable. She orders taxes, and she orders title. Why do we, order title? Well, in Georgia, in order to, meet clear and marketable title, you have to do a search, for 50 years. So we're a little old fashioned here. Some of the law firms out there will just do a limited exam online to save a little bit of money, and be a little more competitive price wise. We don't do that. We follow, really what the title standards require, and that is a 50-year search in the real estate records, where we go back and we make sure that there is clear title. If we uncover a problem, we have title curative people and attorneys here that are well experienced. So, we will, work with you side by side to deal with anything that may come our way. I mean, you could have it, believe it or not, a break in the chain of title, where you have, two people that own it, and one person sells it, and then you have another person out there that still has an interest in the property, and then we have to go back and either find that person, or we've got to work with the title company to get it insured over. So a title exam is something that the pre-closers order that we need to come in. They take about, I would say this day and age, between 5 and 10 days in Metro Atlanta, maybe closer to 7 days. But once we get that information in, we thoroughly review the title just to make sure it's clear. We need the tax report as well, and that's what the pre-closer orders. That's what Autumn orders, so that we can see whether or not, there's any prior taxes owed. We need to see, what the amounts are, so we can prorate and set up an escrow account.
Okay, so let's pause for 1 second.
Yep.
Is there anybody that doesn't follow any of the terminology that Steve has been using? Is everyone kind of clear on title search, what the HOA has got to do with this? Any questions thus far? We were all new at one point, so there's no.
Oh no, yeah,
no
and
bad questions.
I'm trying to be thorough and cover a lot in a short period of time, but title is the big piece of what we do. It's one of the pillars of what closing attorneys do. We make sure there's clear title, and we also handle the money, with a higher standard, because we are a fiduciary, and we're supposed to be entrusted by the public, with our funds.
Hey, Steve, I have a quick question for you.
Sure, Michael.
So if it's not crystal clear title, what different insurance policies are there out there, and do you sell them, or who would you recommend?
Yeah, well, we do issue the title policy. There's two kinds, and sometimes we have to utilize those title policies to insure over minor defects and sometimes major defects. There is a lender's policy if a lender's involved. They're the insured. So if, typically those policies aren't utilized unless the lender forecloses, takes the property back, and they can't sell the property because there's a title defect. So those are, a little cheaper on the premium. The owner's policy, is the big one, where the buyer is the insured. And there's two types of policies. There's a standard policy and there's an enhanced policy. The enhanced policy has 31 covered risks, and the standard only has 7. In most cases, when you're dealing with lot and block, a resale, in a neighborhood, you can get an enhanced policy, and they're really comprehensive. So, they cover matters of survey without, obtaining a new survey. A lot of people don't want to take on that expense. We, encourage people to get a survey, but, enhanced policy is really good. It covers permitting, zoning, fences, walls, a lot of really good things. But we utilize title insurance, just to answer your question, Michael, to insure over defects. There's really no such thing as a perfect title. You're going to find things out there, whether it's, a missing land lot in a legal description. It could be that a warranty deed from 1978 wasn't properly, witnessed.
Hmm.
We go to the title underwriter and we ask them, if they're willing to insure over that, and they say yes. Kind of backing up a little bit with that power of attorney case, we had to, come up with a situation where, we couldn't we couldn't get that power of attorney properly notarized. So we reached out to the title underwriter to see what they wanted us to do, as far as, getting it, notarized another way. And they asked me to just talk to the sellers and find out what they could do. So fortunately, the seller's a doctor and he knows a judge, and the judge is going to work with us to authenticate who they are. I'm going to do a Zoom call with them. We're going to have a local notary and a witness. So we're able to work with the title company to make sure that that power of attorney was acceptable. So we had, a clear title.
Very good.
Great question, Michael. Thank you. Okay.
All right, keep
So-
it going.
All right. So, I'm trying to, I got so much to share, and, it's such little time. You can tell I really like what I do. I always say that I'm a title and contract nerd. So, okay. So we got the pre-closer. Her name's Autumn. She's rocking and rolling. She's reaching out to the parties. She's getting, all the information in, and, we've got all the information we need. We got clear title. We've got the tax report in. So we know, as far as what the property taxes are. And we know that they're clear as well. And now it's time, we're getting closer to closing. So now a gal named Terry Rhodes gets involved. We call her Rhodey. Everybody here has a nickname, kind of like soldiers, So Rhodey has probably been with me the second longest. We've worked together. She's really fantastic. So she takes the information that Lily has gathered and she generates a settlement statement and a closing disclosure form. Those are the numbers. Everybody wants to see the numbers. So, she pulls information from the contract, the purchase price, the earnest money. She takes the tax report that I was talking about, and she'll prorate the taxes between the parties because the seller needs to pay their share, buyer needs to pay their share. If there's a lender involved, we work closely with the lender so that we have the same numbers. And, assuming all the numbers line up, which they always do, sometimes it takes effort, then we get a loan package from the lender, which includes, the standard documents you would see at a real estate closing, such as a note. What are the terms by which you are going to be paying the loan amount back? What's your interest rate? How much time do you have? Is there a prepayment penalty? So, we review the note, but that's, the information that, that Rhodey's going to be putting together. So she gets all the information. She creates all the forms. She's the one who's going to be sending you out the settlement statement. We do that ahead of time. And when I mentioned high tech, we have this thing called a pizza tracker. So along the way of your closing process, what we do is it's auto-generated. We got it from Domino's. That's why it's a pizza tracker. But there's milestones such as the settlement statement going out or the survey coming in, or at the end of closing, when everything's funded, we send you a finally signed settlement statement. So we utilize the pizza tracker, and Rhodey, is involved in that piece of it. So she puts this perfect file together. Autumn, the pre-closer's done her job gathering the information, and you've got Rhodey, the rock star, closer, who is put together all the paperwork in a file, because most of the time we are, we're paper driven now. Some lenders are doing hybrids where you can sign some of the documents electronically, but that's trending. But right now, a majority of the time, you have thick folders. So that's when a guy like me, comes out and you're in the reception area. Sam or Lynn, it's usually Sammy. She's our client services. We call her the director of first impression. She's a smiling face, outgoing personality. She greets everybody. She lets me know that everybody's here. We come out. I've got the file in hand, and we try to get people out of the reception area as quickly as we can, just for social distancing purposes. You don't want, 3 closings all on top of each other right now. So we try to move people back into the closing room as quickly as we can, and we sit down. And guys, with COVID, it did change, the ceremonial part of the closing. So before I go into what I do, kind of what you can expect, is in some cases we do split closings. And that simply means that the seller comes at a different time than the buyer. We now give people an option. If seller and buyer want to come together and sit at the same table, we're cool with that. If the agents want to come, you guys should be there if you want to be there, because that deal better than anybody, and that's the last opportunity to really touch that client in that particular transaction. So we get that that's really, really important. We have folks that can't come to closing, whether it's distance or whether it's health, and so we have some tools that we utilize. So one of them is we can do a power of attorney, just like the Taiwan deal, where if we have hopefully enough time, we can get that power of attorney out to a seller or even a buyer, and they can sign it so that they can have a third party come and sign papers for them if they can't physically be present. We can do mail away closings where you're not going to see that seller or buyer, because we get the paperwork done ahead of time. We send it out to them, and then they have it signed. They send it back to us. And then lastly, we worked with the governor's office to create sort of a virtual closing, if you will, kind of a video conference deal, I guess is the better way to put it. It's called a RIN closing, RIN. Remote ink notarized closing. So what that means is that a party does not have to come to closing. We have to set up a video call with them. We have to authenticate who they are, and it's still paper driven. So it's better for sellers if they don't want to come to closing. So we got to get them the documents, set up the video call, get them to authenticate who they are. We have to ask them some questions. It's all recorded. And then, we get the paperwork back, we put it in the file, and then the buyer comes in. It's not as easy with buyers, especially if they have a loan, just, because we get loan packages late from lenders. It's just a reality. That's all the paperwork we need, to put together, a file. And so usually they have funding conditions too. So, it's just better for buyers to come to closing. But we work with the party. So the ceremonial side of it, it still looks a little different, although it's trending where we have sellers and buyers at the table. It feels good. I like it. If the people aren't getting along, we split the closings, but most of the time people are getting along just fine. They want to see each other, and it makes it easier as far as the transition, transferring keys and openers and codes, and people are really excited to see their seller or their buyer, and the realtors are there. So that's sort of the ceremonial side of it, and kind of what it looks like now with COVID. A little bit different, but if you know that your clients can't attend closing, whether you close with us or whoever you close with, you need to let that pre-closer know as soon as possible so that they can come up, customize a solution, so that you don't end up with a situation where you don't have seller docs and the buyer's loan has to close. Rates are rising, they're going to lose their lock, and it can be a real, cluster. So we got to, know about those things ahead of time. Okay, so let's just say it's a traditional place. Go ahead.
Steve, what does losing the lock mean?
Okay, so when you have a mortgage, you can lock in your interest rate. And most lenders, have a 30-day lock, 60-day lock. It all goes towards pricing. So the shorter the lock period, the better the rate you're going to get. The longer the lock period, you're going to get a little worse rate. So, with rates rising a little bit recently, you have buyers that, are getting a little testy because if the sellers can't perform, it's going to cost them money. And if their rate is 0.25% higher or 0.5% higher over the 30-year term, that's a significant amount of money. So you can relock, and make that rate good for a determined period of time, like 30 or 60 days. But most of the time lenders charge for that. And that fee can be, fairly, significant. And there's nothing in the contract that says the seller will pay for it. So we want to make sure that we do everything we can to be preemptive, proactive. Let us know, if your seller or your buyer cannot attend closing as soon as possible. So Bill, how am I doing? Is it too much information, or is it Is it okay? Do you guys like this?
Well, yeah, let's ask them. Are you guys overwhelmed, confused? Do you want to focus on a different part of the closing process? Is this super helpful? Where are we at? You have an attorney, two attorneys on the phone that are probably a couple $100 an hour minimum, and I'm only going to send you a bill for $100. So ask your questions.
Yeah, so we'll just open it up, because that's really what you guys will see. Intake, you'll see pre-closing, closer, and attorney.
Okay. What
Steve,
questions? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
This is Candace. I just wonder, do you have a visual that we could use to show our buyers and sellers? Just like a little, like your pizza roadmap kind of thing?
We don't have anything like that. Typically, what we put together for you guys, which you can share, with your clients is, and Danica just created this flyer. It shows your team. So it shows the face and person and their position. So we have Autumn and we have Terry. And we also have the 4 attorneys that are in our office, so they know, who they might, close with or who they can ask questions. But, we're open to doing something like that to help.
Thank you.
I have a
Okay.
question for you about that pizza app of yours, or the whole concept. Is that something that you send to us agents, or are you sending all that information to buyers and sellers too, or who gets all that information?
Yes, buyers, sellers, and both agents. And it used to be just by email. We just revved it up to where you receive those notifications by text. Now, if you're like, I'm a guy that it gets too many emails, I'd rather have a text, we can customize it so you get text only or nothing. If you're like, I get too much communication, I wouldn't think that to be the case, but we can customize it.
Very cool. Awesome.
Michael.
Okay. If we have a few extra minutes, I'd love for you to go through a settlement statement, but let's just make sure that everyone is perfectly clear on everything you've described so far, or that we allow anyone to have a question on the closing process or something of that nature to have the opportunity to do so. One thing I'd love for you to also chime in on is what I always encourage our group to do is I have called them very well-paid concierges before. And what I mean by that is our job is to essentially make everyone else's job easy.
Right.
Right. So how can we make your job easy?
Well, the first thing is make sure that the contracts are tight. Make sure that, utilize us so that you have the right legal description and you have the right sellers. That's huge. That contract is everything. Number 2, like I said at the beginning, make sure that we have your client's contact info, because it's probably not going to be in the purchase and sale agreement. And that really helps Autumn reach out to your clients to send those pre-close, sheets so that those can be completed. That really, really helps us. And then lastly, this is more of an overarching theme, what I've learned over the years is that that your clients look to you like a child looks to a parent. So if we do get some bumps on the road, just help manage, those situations, because if you guys are mad, they're going to be mad. If they're, if you guys are like, you know what, you're in good hands, they're doing everything they can, they've timely notified us, they're going to fix it. It's going to make the process go a lot better, because, we've had some agents that just get mad over situations that are out of our control, whether it's a late loan package or there's a title issue. And then you get the seller screaming saying, this shouldn't be an issue. There's another firm down the street that says you guys are wrong. And it's like, wait a minute, we're all on the same team. We all want the same thing. So, just help manage, bumpy situations, because we're going to encounter them. We just have to work together and just know we're going to do everything we can to make you guys look good and to make those closings go off and to where they have that experience that we're looking for. So those are the 3 main things.
All right, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, last chance for questions, and then we're going to open it up to Steve to share with us a settlement statement if you're still able to do that.
Let me see.
Just so everyone is clear, can you help us understand what Danica's role is primarily? How is she involved in the process?
Yes, so Danica is amazing. Danica Bartolo is our client services person. So she's the one who creates the atmosphere in our office. When we can do in-person events, she puts those together. She calls it the fluff, the experience. Some call it the vibe, but I say Danica is nowhere and everywhere. She's on this call, making sure that everything goes well, and that's her role. And if you need anything, let's say that you guys are looking for for us to maybe do pizza, at one of your training deals. Reach out to Danica. If you want to set up a class, reach out to Danica. If you have, let's say that you have some first-time home buyers and it's been a long, bumpy road, and you want us to do something special for them, reach out to Danica. She is client services extraordinaire, and she makes what we do not ordinary. She makes it special.
I just want to chime in for 2 seconds on that. So just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Your organization pays a full-time salary to someone to make sure the experience is awesome. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Guys, if you didn't already know, you're also the head of client services for your sales organization, right? The only difference is it's unpaid until you have a closing, right? But just to show you, it's that important, right? Because there's a bunch of closing attorneys around town, so they know how important the experience is, and they're willing to make an investment in just that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we say be excellent at the basics, and look for that time to shine, where things get, rough, or, if you want to make something special, like when you're, I can't wait for you guys to experience, the reception area, the snacks, the drink bar that she's put together, the props. So after the closing, we have those Polaroid cutouts that say, happy homeowners. And she came up with the idea of a little prop of a home that says we, or I said yes to the address. I mean, it's just those little things, just had a first time home buyer, actually a couple, and they were high-fiving and they were, taking pictures, and that's what it's about for us. We just don't want to be an ordinary closing firm that pushes paper, and deals with volume and cattle call, we call it. We want it to be different. Because like Bill said, there's a lot of choices out there, and we hope that you choose us for those reasons.
Well, the truth is it's easy to be just one of the others.
Right.
It's a little harder, and it takes a bit more energy to become one of the best. And that's just one more example of how our businesses are essentially the same.
That's right. Absolutely. A lot of it. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of both of us, out there, as far as what we do, but they don't do it like we do it. And that's where we gain our market share. It really is everything. So does anybody have a question? Or is everybody
good? Steve, I just want to say something really quick. So I know you said that we can make things special, for closings and all that. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know that we do is we can't actually do a champagne toast. We can't provide the champagne, but you as an agent, if you want to make it really special and make yourself look good, you can bring in a bottle of champagne. We can open it for you, and we can provide glasses and a nice tray, and you all can do a nice champagne toast in your closing. We do like to have a heads up just so we can warn the girls up front, just kind of like, hey, they're coming in with champagne, can you get the glasses ready, that kind of stuff. We have an amazing candy bar, and yes, you're welcome to take candy with you on the way out. And if you ever come across an idea, you might close at another firm way out in the middle of nowhere, but they did something really cool, pass it along and we'll try and create it or do something similar. Like, we like hearing ideas from you guys of what you like and what you don't like, and we always try and make you happy and you look good to the client.
Our PC group meets every morning at 8:30, and we love chips and salsa.
8:30 in the morning, chips and salsa.
How about Ranchos Huevos?
Yeah, I was gonna say Bill loves chips and salsa.
And margaritas.
I do too.
That flyer that I sent in the chat box, I just did that last night, and I'm sending it to the printer. And then once I get those in, I'll actually bring physical copies into the office so you can take it with you, and you'll have the Alpharetta Contracts email address, you'll have the attorney's email address, you'll have all of the attorney's individual email addresses and Autumn. It'll all be printed right there for you. So you can stick that in your car, take a picture of it on your phone so you always have everyone contacts with you. And then we're working on some other flyers as well. There's some in your office, but we are trying to improve things and make a few more. So as we get those, I'll be bringing them to the office. And if you like one, in particular, you can email me and I'll bring you like 20 copies. I'll drop them off at the office just for you, and you can have them to give out to your clients.
Love that. Okay, I'll stop talking. Take it away. Tell us all about the settlement statement.
Thank you, Danica. See, I told you guys. All right, so this is a settlement statement. This one is for a borrower or a buyer, okay? And this is one that we closed, a while ago, for an agent in your office. And I'm just going to go through it with you because, when you're sitting, at the table with me or any closing attorney, one of the first things we do is we review the settlement statement, just a final review of the numbers. So top left, you'll see the purchase price is a nice round $1 million. And then as you go down the left-hand column, you'll see loan charges, and they're detailed in the column. But if you look to the left where it says loan charges in the sort of shaded line there, the total lender fees to this borrower are $3,451. And they're broken out there. So you have an admin fee, which is basically an underwriting fee going to the lender. The origination fee is $2,000. That pays the loan officer. Appraisal fee is $415, credit reports $55, flood check fee is $7. Most all lenders, they charge the borrower $7 to get a flood data report issued to determine whether or not flood insurance is required. And then there's a tax service fee of $79. So that's ongoing monitoring to make sure that the property taxes are paid. And if there's an escrow account, which there is in this case, they also work to make sure that the taxes are paid out of escrow. Then we have some prepaid charges, and you'll see the next three items in the column. There's interest from the date of closing to the beginning of the following month. So that's $116.67. In this particular case, the first payment's going to be due October 1. Interest is paid backwards in arrears in full monthly increments. Rent is paid forward, and then a mortgage interest is paid, in arrears. So we take care of that.
Give us a tiny bit more detail about that. Give us a real example, please.
Well, so an example would be, let's say that you're closing, today, which is the 12th. Okay, you're not going to make an April payment because interest is paid backwards in full monthly increments. So what we do is we collect interest from the 12th to the beginning of April, and then your first payment will be due in May, and May pays April, June pays May, and so forth. So the odd days of interest, this particular case is a day, we're collecting that. But in this particular case, on this settlement statement, the borrower's first payment's not due until October 1. Okay. And then homeowners insurance is the next item. Homeowners insurance is always paid 1 year in advance. Okay. And so people are like, well, wait a minute, why are you escrowing money, if we already paid a year in advance? Well, we're building up that account with a lump sum payment up front, plus your monthly contributions. So there's enough in the account to pay the homeowners insurance next year at that same time. So you paid another year in advance. So it usually equates to, guys, that bold number, the 491868, that usually equates to 6 months of property taxes and 3 months of insurance, just as a rough rule of thumb. Okay. And then as we're scrolling down here, you can see, the title and settlement charges. So, there is, a doc prepper binder fee of $75. So lenders require us to generate what's called a title commitment. Basically, it's a summary of what the title report shows, and if there's any objections that need to be cleared before there's clear title for the lender. Bigger numbers are the $775. That is our settlement fee for conducting the closing. And then the title exam is the $200. Remember, we talked at the beginning that Autumn, the pre-closer, your pre-closer, she's going to order title and it costs $200. So that pays a third party. In this case, you see that it's Southeast Title and Processing. We outsource that. So there's examiners in the courthouse that'll do a 50-year search to determine whether or not there's clear title. And then you got owner's title insurance and lender's title insurance. They're separate premiums. And just so you guys know, collectively, you're looking at about $4 per thousand based on the purchase price, $4 per thousand. That's just a rough rule of thumb. But here's something really cool for you guys that you can take with you that Richard will go into a little bit more in your class. Go to our website, and under resources, you can go to our fees, and it will give you all our fees, detailed out. And you can plug in the purchase price and loan amount, and it'll actually quote you a title insurance premium for both the lenders and the owners. So your buyer will have an exact amount as to what it's going to cost them to close with us. Okay. So that's a really, really big thing. We feel that, it's a resource that you guys need to know about. The recording fees, there's 4 of them there. In Georgia, there's an intangible tax and there's a transfer tax. The intangible tax, believe it or not, is tangible. It's real money. It's $3 per thousand based on the loan amount. Okay. So anytime you have a mortgage in the state of Georgia with a maturity of greater than 3 years, you're taxed on that money. And that's how, we came up with the 2,400. The transfer tax is another, fee generation deal for, the state. And that's $1 per thousand based on the sales price. Recording fees are about $80. And the cool thing now is we e-file in most of the counties. There's a few counties that are still holding out, but most all counties that we do business with here in Metro Atlanta. And this is really cool. It's a little bit more expensive. It's around $4.50 per document. So your buyer would pay about $9. But it used to take 12 weeks to get your recorded deed back. It now comes back to you by email in 7 to 10 days. So it's not 12 weeks. And then your client, if eligible, they can go ahead and file for homestead exemption. They don't have to wait for the deed and all that to come in. It's a lot quicker, which is really cool. So we kind of spearheaded that with Fulton County. We're not supposed to talk about it, but that's pretty cool that we got to be at the front lines of that. So that you'll see at the bottom line under subtotals, those are the total charges. That's the purchase price plus closing costs plus the prepaids, right? So that's $1,020,068.35. And then to the right, you'll see the total credits, which we'll go over in just a minute. And that's the bottom line amount. So that is what is due from. Look to the left, it says balance due from borrower. So, they need to wire those funds into our account. We use a secured system to get our wiring instructions to your clients. It's called certified, so they don't end up enriching in Nigerian prince, or somebody like that. Let's see, let me go back up to the top here. So top right, you'll now see the credit column, and we're starting with the earnest money coming back to your buyer, $10,000. The loan amount's $800,000. There is a seller credit. We pull that from 2 places. One, the contract and the lender's instructions. And then here's a proration that we were talking about. This is the reason we need the tax report. That's why Autumn, gets that information in. Look to the left and you'll see in brackets next to county taxes, 5662.83. That is what, the seller paid, last year, the prior year. So we're giving an 8-month credit to the buyer from the seller so that when the bill comes out, they're going to pay the whole year out of their escrow account. So we use the tax amount, and usually when the tax bill is not out, we use the previous year and we use that to prorate and to set up an escrow account. So you'll see that, if there's an HOA, we prorate that. So it's, prorated in the same manner. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's a deposit with the lender. Sometimes lenders require, a deposit of $720, and that comes back to the buyer. And you'll see the total, you'll see the total credits, and that's the bottom line. And then just real quickly, we only have a couple more minutes left, and I need to sky because I know y'all have plenty to do. But This is the seller side settlement statement. So you have one for the buyer, you have one for the seller. We go over both of these with the seller and buyer at closing. Again, top right, you'll see the credit. This is a credit to the seller, $1 million. Left-hand column, the seller's given the buyer a credit of $1,000. Remember the debit credit. So that is 8 months of the property taxes are going as a credit to the buyer from the seller. You got the realtor fees in there. Yay, payday. And then you'll see some, wire fees and recording charges. That's the 10, 35, 50, and 70. So we wire out payoffs, we wire proceeds. There are 2 mortgages on this property to United Community Bank. So we, Autumn had to obtain 2 payoff statements from from the lender. Then there's a home warranty of $540. So the balance due to seller is $211,413.31. So that is, a real life settlement statement generated from a transaction that you guys did with us, some time ago. The last thing I'll leave you with is, make sure when you look at the settlement statement, make sure that you look at, your clients' names and have them look at it too, to make sure that they are spelled correctly, make sure that the address is correct. Sometimes we get, instructions from the lender and there's an inaccuracy in there. And we want to look at that. We want everything to be perfect when they come to the table. So just help us an extra set of eyes just on the information up above. Work very closely, with Autumn, get to know her, great personality, very organized, good person. She'll be your single point of contact until it's time to get the numbers generated. And that's when Rhodey steps in. But it's a simple and complicated process. It's all lineal, it's all information driven. And, we are sort of command central. So we have to gather information from a lot of different places. So, I'll just end it with this, just, be part of the solution, help us set expectations, encourage your clients to take the pre-close sheet seriously. Work with us if we have a title issue or a challenge, work with us. If you, try to identify any issues up front, if your seller or buyer's not going to attend closing, if there's a divorce, if there's death, if there's anything we need to know about, just let us know. And even if it's not our transaction, we consider you guys family now, utilize us, attorney at Campbell, attorney at cb.law. You'll have all our contact information on the flyer. Even if you're closing somewhere else, you're like, man, that just doesn't sound right, or I don't really understand that. Just reach out to us. We want to be there for you. We want to add value so that hopefully, we can, become your closing attorney of choice.
Thank you very, very much, Steve. That was, you did a fantastic job of probably taking a 3-hour class and shoving it into 15 minutes. So I'm grateful for that. Steve and Danica's contact information is on our monthly calendar, as well as our daily email newsletter. So what I would ask of you is, give them a shot, right? Give them an opportunity to show you how they do business. And as I've mentioned to all of you guys in the past, is our job is to be the calming force in the transaction. So right. if there is a obstacle that kind of originates from the attorney, they didn't want that obstacle. Okay, they're frustrated to have to deal with it too. So just understand that now it's time to put all hands on deck and try to figure out how to resolve this. It's not about yelling and screaming at somebody because it's not going perfectly. It's about saying, hey, none of us get what we want until this deal closes. So, I've often joked, like, I'm going to do my job and probably half of your job. Just show me what to do. I want to get to the end of this, right? So, be a team player. Danica, Steve, thank you very much for approaching me and volunteering to do this. And you're welcome back anytime. Anyone else have any last minute questions? Okay, we're going to move into the launch mastermind here in 30 seconds. I just sent out a link in the WhatsApp chat. It's going to be in Candace's room. So I hope to see you guys there. Steve, Danica, pleasure having you here. If you have any questions about the closing attorney process, you can, of course, reach out to them and I can put you in touch with them as well. So you guys have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Thanks. You guys do as well. Thank you, Bill. Thank